It really is a interesting perspective that we find ourselves viewing here in the 6th chapter of the book of 1 Timothy about the Apostle Paul's teaching to young Timothy about a person who is a slave. And Paul's teaching to that person who is a slave, he says, look, you serve your master. You be faithful, even though you're a slave and you don't want to be a slave. But then he says that if the slave has a master that's a believer, that puts it in a different light. He says, not only do you serve them, but you honor them as a Christian. And as I've said this week in the teaching, I said, this is so foreign to a life in the United States of America. It's just not the way we think. But the Apostle Paul defends his position. And he says a person who doesn't agree with this is nothing less than a person who would reject the very words of Jesus Christ. Not that Jesus said that you should be a slave, but he says that if somebody despitefully uses you, then pray for them. And as the apostle draws this out, he begins to really point at the condition of one's heart. And I want to use the word one's thinking. And so you might imagine that this Christian slave who's bound to this master, who is a Christian, but in their heart, this is not where they want to be. They want to be free. They want to pursue commerce. They want to get rich. And it's very clear. This is all very much brought out here. The person, they want to change in life, and they want to go from poverty to riches. Well, the Apostle Paul says there may be some danger in this. And let's consider this for a moment. We have football players, basketball players, people who go into the movies. They're young and they become successful early on, beyond their wildest imagination. You know as well as I do, that don't always go well. And we read it in the papers, we read it in the glamour magazines, and how that they become drug addicts, and then all kinds of horrible things happen because, well, this is what the Apostle Paul says in these very scriptures. He says, the love of money is the root of all evil. So basically what he's pointing out is, he said, look, you need to look at your life in the light of eternity, because everything here is temporal. We're only here for a while, and then we move on to another place. And his whole point is simply the fact that this should be our focus and status of life, that we're just passing through, and that heaven is our eventual eternal home, and that should be the very focus of our life as we live on this earth. This is Pastor Jack King with the gospel on the radio broadcast.